Our next speaker is Dave Harrison.
All right. So here's key point number one. Most of you, even with a successful business, to tell yourself you're a great leader, you don't know yet. Because you've never had to really be a great leader. Because great leaders always show themselves not in good times, but in troubled times. And I want to talk about some of those differences and what we can learn from that. So that's concept one I want to talk about today. Here's concept two I want to talk about today. Value. What the heck is value? All right? And everybody defines it different ways. So I'm going to share with you something I learned years ago when I was at Johnson & Johnson. We had millions of dollars to spend on how and why people buy. And I want to share what I learned years ago about value that has fit every industry I've been in since. And I've been in a lot of industries. I've sold heart monitors, sutures, Lennox Fine China, Gorham Silver, Hartman Luggage, Armstrong Floors and Ceilings, roofing for several years. It's fit every industry I've been in. And it's that definition of value. And the definition is you have accomplished value. You build value based on when the customer understands the potential risks and problems in the decision they're going to make. And then after they understand that, then understands how you uniquely reduce or eliminate those potential problems and mistakes. That's a critical concept because what we did at Johnson & Johnson in 1983, we were given this project. And the project was go look up in multiple industries, multiple sizes, whether it was on Main Street or Wall Street, what was the difference between the number one company in an industry and everybody else? Now, the others were often doing very well. The question was, what's the difference with number one and everybody else? And here's the first thing that we noticed out of that. You go to, how many of you have been to sales training before? Right. And how many in those sales training, and you've been to lots of it, tell you people are benefit seeking? Right? It's crap. And the first thing you'll notice of every number one company in every industry, regardless of the size, is one of the things they figured out is people are not benefit seeking as the first level objective. Most people in most decisions are risk avoiding. And if you step back, you can realize why. Think about it. The minute you can communicate as a kid, what is your parent telling you? Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. Then you start school. What happens in school? Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. Then later on you're in sports or something. Don't do this, don't do this. Then the worst part, you start dating. Oh my God, you want to talk about don't do's, right? We are constantly beat up in our life of what not to do. So subconsciously, most people are risk avoiding making a mistake and avoiding embarrassing themselves. Now, the reason they don't teach that is because it doesn't sound good. To say to somebody, do you know how people really behave? Avoiding making a mistake. Man, it sounds so terrible. All capitalists. Okay, tell me if this isn't true. All capitalism is exchanging value for money. Isn't that right? I mean, you just boil it down. All capitalism is exchanging value for money. Is that fair? Right. And all sales and marketing is communicating value and exchanging for money. Is that fair? All right. So if we want to be great in our industry, all we need to do, and all we need to teach our teams how to do, is copy the most successful capitalists and sales and marketing people and just apply it to our industry. Is that fair? All right, so I did the homework for you. I went to the IRS, and I found out the 5 highest paid professions are doctors, lawyers, bankers, and accountants. Best salespeople, best sales and marketing people in the country. If we just copy what they do, we'll be rich. Now, some of you going right now, he's trying to trick us. Actually, I'm not at all. See, I think mostly what they teach in sales and marketing at seminars is pure crap. And I actually believe that the more you act like a doctor, the more money you're going to make. So the next thing I want to talk about is, so what's the difference between a doctor and these other professionals, a good one, and what do they do differently than most people? So let me start off with a question. You look like a pretty healthy guy, right? Right. If you went to the doctor, right, you're in the exam room. If the doctor started trying to diagnose you right away, how would you feel about that doctor?
Quack.
A quack. How much would you trust him? You wouldn't trust him at all, would you? Could a doctor start diagnosing you right away without talking to you? It's called a veterinarian. Now, they can do it. But if they did it, you wouldn't trust them, right? Now, let's think what a good doctor does when they walk in that exam room. What is the first things coming out of their mouth that they're saying? What? What's wrong? They're not only questions, but think of what the questions are. Is there anything bothering you? Is there any problem? And I think of a doctor's questions sort of like landing an airplane. The key to question, so they always start off with questions, right? Now, when someone asks you a question, how do you feel about them? They care. They care. And people who care, isn't it true that they generally generate your trust?